Hey, Central family. We miss you guys and we hope you all are doing well.
Is it possible to have too much of a good thing? When I think about my body and what it needs to survive and what it needs to be healthy, water is pretty important. Water is a very good thing. Water keeps us hydrated. Water gives us life. But is it possible to have too much water? Well, we can have too much water. In fact, if I found myself submerged in water with no way to escape, water could actually kill me. When I think about the things that my body needs to sustain life and to be healthy, water is important, but there are many other things that I need as well. And if I neglect those other things because of water, I'm not doing my body any favors. Jesus had priorities in his life for his mission while he was on earth. And I think a very important thing for us to see is Jesus didn't let good things come in the way of better things. When Jesus starts his ministry in Luke chapter 4, he goes into the synagogue and he opens the scroll and he reads these words from Isaiah. He says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me and to proclaim the good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind and to set at liberty those who are oppressed and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Jesus kind of sets out the recipe of why he's on earth. This is what I'm here for. And so if we continue looking there at Luke chapter 4, he does. He heals a lot of people. He performs miracles. He is doing a lot of good. And towards the end of Luke chapter 4, people are departing. People are following him. He's departing to a desolate place to try to get away from people. And there's people who are still seeking him because he's doing all these amazing things. And in verse 43, he tells his disciples, he says, "Listen, I must preach the good news of the kingdom of God to other towns because I was sent for this purpose." This is my purpose. Well, his purpose was also to proclaim God's power through healing and through miracles. But his other purpose is to preach the good news of the kingdom of God. So we see two priorities there. But if we kept looking further into Jesus' ministry and towards the end of his earthly ministry in Luke chapter 23, we see that he has opportunities to do both of these things, but he passes on both of these good things, helping people, showing miracles, proclaiming God's power, and preaching salvation. He lets both of these opportunities pass for something even better. In Luke chapter 23, and beginning in verse 8, it says, when Herod saw Jesus, he was very glad. He was very glad, for he had long desired to see him because he had heard about him, and he was hoping to see some kind of sign done by Jesus. Jesus had an opportunity to do a miracle in front of Herod. Herod said, "Oh, I've heard about this guy. This guy performs miracles. I want to see one." Verse 9 says, he questioned him at some length, but he, Jesus, made no answer. So not only did Jesus have the opportunity to show Herod a miracle and pass that up, he also had the opportunity to open his mouth and to preach salvation to Herod or preach the good news to Herod, and he didn't. Why didn't Jesus do that? Why didn't Jesus take either one of those golden opportunities to show Herod what he could do, to show Herod God's power, or at least preach this message to God? Because the most important priority that Jesus had while he was on earth was to go to the cross. And Jesus knew on that night, the most important thing he had to do was die for all of us. And so he passed up the opportunity to do miracles, just like he did earlier. He passed up the opportunity to preach, which we don't really see a lot of times that Jesus does that. But he did that because the most important thing, his most important mission, was to die on the cross. Hebrews 12:2 says he did that for the joy that was set before him. He passed up good things for better things. There's a lot of good things that we can do in our life. We've got to make sure we don't pass up better things for good things. Let me give you some thoughts that, based on what we see, the pattern with Jesus, maybe some priorities for our life to help us live a healthy Christian life and not pass up better things for good things. I think our third most important priority in life needs to be just like Jesus's was. It needs to be helping others as much as we can and in as many ways as we possibly can. We have to help people and show that love to Jesus. But that's only our third most important priority, because our second most important priority is making sure that people we know and love understand about God's salvation and the gift that He provides. That needs to be so important to us in our everyday life, spreading that message of hope, that message of salvation. But it cannot interfere with the most important thing we can do here on earth, and that is our own salvation. Our own salvation of others isn't very valuable. Being able to teach the salvation to others isn't very valuable if we don't have that salvation ourselves, if we don't have that relationship. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The most important reason that we're here on earth is to learn to love God. We have to make sure that we have our part in that salvation. Jesus had three priorities: proclaim God's power, preach salvation, and provide salvation. While we're here on earth, we cannot have too much of a good thing. We cannot allow ourselves to have too much of a good thing, passing up better things in place of good things. We need to help others as much as we can, and as in many ways as we can. But we also need to preach salvation. But we also need to make sure that our salvation is secure. We always need to be working on our relationship with God. I love you. I hope you have a great day.